your worth is in your existence. The cost of this is complete and utter exhaustion because you're constantly moving the goalposts because there's never enough, or the praise stops and you feel completely lost, like you've lost your identity, and that can put you in a full-blown mental fucking spiral. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, the podcast where we debunk the eat less, move more, shrink more mentality and focus on what really matters, which includes your relationship with your body, food, self-worth, and the behaviors that align with all of those. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, licensed therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. At the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. So let's have a conversation about that. Before we get into today's episode, I want to make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, if you don't want to miss any content that's being dropped, make sure you hit that notification bell as well. I also want to know who are the people you want to hear from on this show and what topics would you like me to continue to cover. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get into the episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. I'm so excited that you took this time for yourself today to learn something for your health. That is an amazing step in the right direction, whatever that direction may be. Before we get started, I want to remind you guys that I am doing the 300 miles in October ride for the American Cancer Society. This is something that I'm doing to help raise funds for American Cancer Society. As you guys know, I lost my father to cancer 2 months ago, and I will be riding 300 miles total over the course of the month with my brother. My brother's doing it as well. So if you would be so kind, there is a link to a GoFundMe. That GoFundMe was created by the ACA. And if you can just give $1, $10, it would be greatly appreciated because I want to be able to give back to research so that people do not have to go through what we have been through with cancer treatment. So if you can check that out, the link is in the show notes. So today we're talking about something that I have a bachelor's, master's, and PhD in: perfectionism. I am your perfectionism princess. I know all the things about perfectionism personally, but also because 99.9% of my clientele are type A perfectionists. And let me play it out for you because there's actually two types of perfectionists, and we're going to go into their actual titles, but I'm going to talk to you about what they look like. So here's the one that most of you are familiar with. It is the person who wants to lose weight. And they're like, okay, I'm going to work out for 60 minutes, 5 days a week. I'm going to hit 10,000 steps and I'm going to hit my 1,500 calories and no junk food. Absolutely no junk food, no sugar. That's always for some reason people do that. No sugar. And maybe for a couple of days, even a couple of weeks, they do really well, but life gets in the way and they can't get to that gym workout. Or they end up having the treat that was in the break room. And in their brains, they decide, well, I've failed at this. And rather than recognizing that in that moment, they made a different decision than these rules that they set for themselves, not only did they decide that they failed that day, but then they end up not doing the thing for the rest of the week or the month or the year. It could be a short amount of time that they're, in this failure mindset, but most of the time it affects them for multiple days. Then they realize that it's catching up to them. Usually it's because they start gaining weight and they come back to that rigid perfectionism, right? On the other side, though, it's the person who will not even start something because they're so fearful of not achieving it. And that is the person that usually is not even going to call me because they're waiting for the right time to start a program, or they do call me and I call them out on their shit and they're like, oh my God, the holidays are happening, so I'm going to wait until January, and then something happens in January, so then I'm going to wait till and they're completely avoidant. There's actually three people. There's the person who doesn't have an issue with exercise. They're doing it all of the time. They're working out 7 days a week. They're eating in a restrictive diet, but their body is not showing progress. They are completely burning themselves out. Rest to them feels like a foreign entity and something that other people do. And the problem is that they're not actually successful at whatever their goal is, in this case, weight loss. So perfectionism shows up a lot of ways to our program. We're going to talk about how it shows up in diet and exercise, but more than that, because it affects your relationships. It affects your relationship with yourself. It can affect your career choices, and it can lead to burnout. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So what people think perfectionism is, because oftentimes you'll hear people like, oh no, I don't want to turn in that project yet. Like, I want it to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist. And people are like, ha ha ha, and they just brush it off, right? They think that it is fixing flaws. What I see perfectionism as is a way to keep your body safe. It is a protective mechanism. It's a constant pressure to get it right, to never drop the ball, to never appear not composed or put together. It's your nervous system remembering somewhere along the way, you learn that being yourself was not safe and not enough. So today we're going to meet your perfectionistic part. We're not going to silence it. We're not going to shame it. We're going to have compassion towards it, and we're going to understand it. So what do I mean by part? Well, I am trained in internal family systems theory, which is a theory that explains that in our brains, we have these entities. We have these little individual parts. And there are 3 different types of parts. I'm going to explain what the original theory is and how I've renamed it, because I like things to like make sense and have like a picture in my mind of what they look like. So in the original theory, we have 3 types of parts. You have your exiled parts. Those are the most wounded, young, shameful parts of you. They're the parts that if we experience them, it's so overwhelming that it completely disrupts our system because they're full and they're just riddled with shame. So those are the exiled parts. Those are the parts that we want or try to avoid. And we try to avoid them with 2 protector style parts. You have the proactive protectors, which are called managers. They're the ones who control. They are very predictable. They're not always nice. They can be very much, your inner critic can be a protector, but it's a proactive way to keep you safe and to keep you from feeling all that heaviness that is exiled. The other part is a reactive part, and they call it the firefighters. This is the part that kind of puts out the fire once the proactive or manager part eventually burns out. It puts out the fire. Now, the way that I've renamed it in my program is your exiled parts are your dungeon. It's all of the shit that you want to push away and throw away the key. You do not want to go there. It is very scary there, and you cannot handle the dungeon. So in order to keep the dungeon closed, you have your warden, which is what I call your manager parts, your proactive parts. The warden is controlling, sets all the rules, makes sure that everything's in line. However, chaos will ensue. So then what I call your firefighters is your guard dogs. So you're letting those guard dogs in to kind of like scream and yell and do all the things. So perfectionism oftentimes shows up as a proactive warden. And it's keeping you from experiencing what's in that dungeon, experiencing the shame, the worthlessness, the unlovableness, that's not a word, but the rejection, the abandonment that you've had in your life. And it is there to keep you safe. You're going to hear me say that a lot today because I want you to understand that. When you can recognize that, even perfectionism, your inner critic, your hypervigilance, all of those parts were designed to keep you safe. And let's talk about where that comes from. Where is perfectionism and this protective part born? It doesn't usually start in adulthood, as we know. It begins the first time you were made to feel that your worth depended on performance, okay? Maybe in your household, you were the good girl. You never got in trouble. You're the responsible one. I had a parent tell me that her daughter was the little executive, right? And that is learned. You, for whatever reason in the household, kind of took a step back and you could read rooms before you could read books, right? And you said, okay, I realize that I'm safe when I'm getting good grades, when I'm not being seen, when I'm helping others, right? When I'm kind of indecisive, I can be safe because I can like avoid things when I'm avoidant. That's a better way to say it. So you're going to get this label. It's just going to be reinforced that you're good, right? Or you're responsible, or you're the little executive. The problem though is you're still a kid and you still have kid emotions. And that perfectionism is going to crack either because it's tired or because you're just a child. And the problem though is that your parent is then responsible for parenting you. But what happens is usually when you're in your perfectionistic role, their lives are easier. And if they live vicariously through you, their worth is higher. They're more worthy when you're getting the good grades. So either your parent then, when you have an emotion, they have more stress on their plate. And because you've been managing that stress through being good, they crumble, they react. They react, they might yell, they might make these like condescending comments like, I would expect that from your brother, but not you. Or what is even going on with you? What's wrong with you? As if you having emotions is a bad thing, right? Or because they live vicariously through you, both of these things could happen at the same time too. Their sense of worth is like diminished and they react. They might stonewall you and completely avoid you, right? The silent treatment. They might make some sort of really harsh comment, which really is a reflection of what they think about themselves. But the problem with this is that children are boundaryless. They don't have the mental capacity to understand that that's you projecting onto them. The parent's job is to know that their own emotions are getting in the way of their child. The parent's job is to have boundaries, but oftentimes they do not. And we internalize it. So not only am I safe when I'm perfect, but it is very scary when a mistake happens, right? So mistakes are, then felt like they're met with disappointments, with, again, withdrawal or rejection, with criticism. So the more that I can avoid that, the better that I am, right? The problem is that in those tiny micro moments or big moments even, you create this belief that love is earned, that safety depends on control. Like I have to control safety rather than my parent controlling safety. I have to control it. Rest is incredibly dangerous for me. I've actually had a client say that. It was unsafe to rest, even if she was reading a book. And being visible for some of my perfectionists is risky, okay? Again, this is not this enemy though, this perfectionism. It is actually what I consider like a bodyguard. It's the one thing, as you get older, starts to whisper like, do more, fix more, hide more of myself and do more of what I want other people to think of me, right? Or what I think other people want me to be. And again, it's a sense of protection because, historically, like we did not want to be abandoned by our tribe. We wanted to be a part of the tribe. We needed to be a part of the tribe for our survival. So perfectionism helps us stay in the tribe, right? But there are two faces of perfectionism. I talked about three, but actually you can put them into two segments. And the examples, there are multiple examples in each segment. All of these are rooted in fear, right? And they're both trying again to keep you safe. So the first one is avoidance-driven perfectionism. This version avoids pain, by staying small, by being invisible. This person oftentimes is a procrastinator. They're very indecisive and they will do endless type of preparation. It's not because that they don't care, but it's actually because they care too much. One of my clients told me that she will wait until the very last minute to do something. Because what ends up happening is if she fails or it's not good enough, it's not because of her. It's because of the lack of time that she had. Even though logically she knows she has weeks, months to finish this thing, she will wait until what we call the fire drill moment in order to get it done. Because then if it's not good enough, it's because, I just didn't have enough time. So there's this lack of accountability. For these people, they think if I don't start something, then I can't fail at it. They think that they have to wait until there's a perfect time, as I talked about. And if I can wait till it's perfect, then I won't fail or feel criticized, right? They think I have to create the most perfect plan. I have to be ready to start. I have to know everything. But all of that research creates analysis paralysis, and they become very indecisive. And again, this is rooted in a deep, deep fear. So what's in that dungeon is fear of judgment, rejection, and being seen as incompetent. Because when that happened in childhood, it fucking hurt, right? And so your nervous system associates mistakes, the potential of failure, whatever that looks like, with danger. It hesitates, it freezes, and it overthinks. Okay. So with this person, self-protection is disguised as delay. The next one is approval-seeking perfectionism. And this form is kind of the one that we know about. It runs towards achievement instead of away from it, kind of like the avoidant. It chases worth through doing, through achieving, and through pleasing other people. Beautiful, beautiful listener and viewer, I'm asking you a huge favor. I am doing the American Cancer Society 300-mile ride in the month of October. What this consists of is over the course of the month, I have to ride 300 miles on my bike. And I'm doing this in an effort to help with funding research for cancer treatment. As you guys know, I lost my father to cancer a few months ago, and this is mine and my brother's way of supporting cancer research in hopes that people do not have to go through what we went through as a family. So if you would be so kind, whether it's 50 cents, $1, whatever it is that you can donate, check out the GoFundMe link in my show notes. The GoFundMe goes directly to the American Cancer Society. This is a link that they provided. My tush, thanks you in advance. Now, let's get on with the show. This is a person who's going to say yes to things when it's an absolute no. It's an absolute no. Their body knows it's a no, but they fear that if they're not being seen as positive by other people, then they will experience what's in their dungeon, right? They're the person who's going to over-deliver. They're going to overwork. They're going to refuse to rest because, again, sitting and not doing feels like failure because they learned that sitting is unsafe. Again, an example of that is my client would be reading, and her dad, who is an immigrant and culturally, burdened her to think that sitting was lazy when really she was actually reading, right? This person will measure their success on not how they feel, but like how others are responding to them. Okay. And at its core, what you have learned is like, if I'm impressive, then I'm safe, right? If I'm needed by people, I'm loved. When, as you guys always know, I say your worth is in your existence. The cost of this is complete and utter exhaustion because you're constantly moving the goalposts because there's never enough, or the praise stops and you feel completely lost, like you've lost your identity, and that can put you in a full-blown mental fucking spiral. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of coaching today. So I want you guys, if you haven't already, grab a piece of paper, or, if you're not driving, grab your phone. I'm going to help you. So for you guys listening, I want you to think about what style of perfectionist are you? And you might be asking, well, what if I'm a little bit of both? I hear you. And I want to explain how I'm a little bit of both. So for me, I'm the person that people always say, like, you're good at everything that you do. Why? Because I avoid the shit that I'm not good at. I'm not going to go into a math competition or a Google sheet, Excel sheet competition ever because I'm not going to be good at it. Okay. I am not going to try to French braid someone's hair because I am not good at it yet because I'm trying to learn. I am going to avoid the things that I'm not good at. And I'm going to overemphasize the things that I am good at, like singing, dancing, being creative, connecting with people. And I'm going to put those on display so you see those. You see those first. How does that show up for you? What do you avoid doing because you're afraid of failure? I have a story. When I was in high school, I was on the varsity performance dance team. Basically, I tried out when I was still in 8th grade. And I was in the dance team for all 4 years of high school. And my a friend of mine that I danced with in studio dance was the president of the dance company. She was also on our performance varsity dance team, was called Legacy. She was on Legacy with me. So she was the president. She was 2 years older than me, my freshman year and my sophomore year. So then when she was leaving, of course, it was kind of like I would take over as the president because she also was on Legacy all 4 years. It wasn't common for people to be on it all 4 years. So it was just, they would kind of hand it over to me. But then this other girl decided to run against me. And I was so fearful of the rejection by my peers that myself and my parents created a plan to go to a different high school if I did not win. What? Right? So, and I know why, like, that happened for me. For me, as you guys know, I very much had to learn that performance was a way to keep my mom happy, and I wanted her to be happy. The other thing my mom would do is compare me to my peers often. Not in, it came off as a very better than kind of condescending way, but I knew what she was doing. You know, she very much compares herself to other people and was projecting that onto me. So I don't have a sense of comparison to others, at least in dance, but I would always strive to be best. So there was no comparison, if that makes sense. So I guess I did have that. Anyway, so that is, I want you to think about what does that look like for you? What is your avoidant style of perfectionism and what is your achievement style of perfectionism? Some of you are going to lean one side versus the other. Some of you are going to be a blend, kind of like me. And also, if you ever want to challenge your perfectionism, go learn how to snowboard after the age of 40. Humbled the shit out of me. All right. So now that we know what type of perfectionist we are, I'm going to actually coach you on today's episode, which is something I haven't done. I want you to meet your perfectionist part. And I want you to think about the last time that you were over inundated with needing to do more. You said yes to something that was an absolute no, but you still said yes to it. Or you didn't try to do something because you thought that you would fail at it. I want you to go back to that place. Now, if you're driving, don't close your eyes. If you're not driving, get comfortable. If you want, grab a piece of paper and a pen. You can pause this episode right now. Grab a piece of paper, pen, pencil, or just open your own notes app because I want you to take notes on this. If you're driving, come back to it later, but you can still do the activity. Okay, so I want you to go back to the last time that you felt like you had to be perfect or that you were overanalyzing something, that you were avoiding something for a long period of time. Go back to that place. And I want you to think about what emotions you felt. You might feel a sense of shame, anxiety, resentment, anger. You might have some sadness. What did your emotions say to you in that moment? What were you thinking about yourself? What story were you playing in your mind about the outcome? Now, as you're thinking about that, I want you to take a quick scan of your body, and I want you to recognize anywhere you're feeling that part, anywhere you're feeling that memory. Sometimes it's in the belly, sometimes it's in the shoulders, the chest, the throat, the head, above the eyes. Where do you feel it right now? And I want you, as you connect to that physical part of yourself, to kind of really connect to it. What does it feel like? And if it was to step outside of you, what would you name it? I want you to name this part. Is it the list? Is it the doer? Is it the micromanager? What would you name this part of you? Now, what we're about to do is an experiential activity. And this is for fun, for entertainment value. If you need more of this, I obviously ask you to go see a therapist or work with me. In this experiential activity, your logic and reasoning is going to want to come in and answer the questions for you. When that happens, you're just going to kindly ask your logic and reasoning to step aside and let you connect to your perfectionism as if it's a conversation you're having across from you. Your perfectionism is sitting across from you. Okay. The other thing is, I want you to really connect with your perfectionism from a compassion from a compassionistic place. Is that a word? Anyway, I want you to connect with compassion. I want you to connect with like a curiosity, a calmness. So if you're starting to feel anger or denial or any other thing other than compassion and curiosity and calmness, we're also going to ask that part to step aside because that's another protector. Okay. Because remember, your perfectionism is there to protect you. What a kind thing to do. So come back to where you feel like that perfectionism lives. And I want you to introduce yourself to it. And I just want you to recognize what it does. It might be like shocked. It might look sad. It might look small. It might reach out to you. What does it do when you say, hi? Next, I want you to ask it, what does it do for you in order to keep you safe? It might say something like, I always make sure you're composed and put together. I always make sure that you're number one. I always ensure that we avoid anything that's going to make you feel bad. What is its job and how does that job keep you safe? Next, I want you to ask it how long it's been doing that job for you. Normally, it's been doing it for a long time. It's been around for a long time. So ask it, how long have you been doing this job for me? Next, I want you to ask it, what does it think will happen if it doesn't do this job for you? It might say, you're going to fail. Nobody's going to love you. And if you want to go a bit deeper on that, ask it the second question, what is so wrong about that? Take your time with this. Make sure we're staying connected to that compassion towards it, that curiosity, getting to know it, okay? It's going to keep it more open. Next, I want you to ask it this is the most important question. What does it need from you in order for it to not do its job? What do you need to do in order for it to step away? Write that down. When I'm doing this with clients, they're saying things like rest. I need acceptance. I need flexibility. I need to let go. What does it want from you? Then you're going to ask it, if I can provide, enter whatever it is it told you, what would you be doing instead? And see what it says. It might say resting. It might say I'd have freedom. It might even say I'm still going to help you succeed because these parts aren't bad and they're always there. We just don't want them to be as extreme. Last question I want you to ask your perfectionistic part is, do you feel like I understand you a bit more? And is there anything else you want me to know? And write that down. We're going to close by thanking that part and letting it know we'll come back to it. And we're going to be more aware of it. And we're going to do everything that we can so that it can rest. I want you to take a deep breath in, 4 seconds in. 6 seconds out. How was it? For some of you, you're like, I couldn't do it. That means that you have a lot of parts protecting you from learning your perfectionism. But for those of you who had the convo, great job. And it's not good or bad if we could or could not do it. It just takes a bit more coaching. This activity, what you just did, gives you a glimpse into what you need to do when this part has, as I say, taken the wheel. All of your parts are in the car. You're in the car with it. But in certain situations, when it feels unsafe or unloved or threatened, it will take that will from you. Now you know what physically it feels like. You know mentally what's going on. You know emotionally what's going on. And more importantly, you know what it needs for you, yourself, to do in order for it to step aside and allow you to take the will back. So, the next time that you are triggered, you're feeling the urge to say yes when you want to say no. You're feeling like you need to add on another task. You feel like you keep hesitating to turn in that project. That's the trigger. That's your perfectionism saying, hey, I'm here. We're not safe. And instead of, shaming, think it. Have some gratitude because it's warning you. It's the warning signs that something is wrong. And then you take what it needs for you to do and you do it. So if you need a rest, if you need to start doing the thing when you're not ready, if you need to turn it in without 10,000 drafts, do that. And do that over and over and over again. If you had trouble with this is exactly a glimpse into what I do in my one-to-one coaching. Myself and Coach Olivia are trained in this. And we are walking with you side by side and not just working on perfectionism. We're going to work on all those other parts that come up, plus so many other things. This is why we do what we do. And we have the educations that we have, plus also giving you those skills that are imperfect exercise, imperfect nutrition that still helps you reach your goals. That's what we do here. So if you had trouble with that, or you're just like, I want more, let's set up a call. Let's set up a discovery call so that we can see what is the best program for you. Because we do this in all of our programs. Our one-to-one coaching obviously is going to be the most hands-on. Okay. A few other things. For my avoidance-driven perfectionist, here's another little skill that I want to give you guys today before we take off. I want you to create what we call the 2-minute decision. Pick one small choice you've been avoiding right now. It could be lunch, it could be sending this email, it could be a text that you need to send, right? And decide what you're going to do in 2 minutes. That's it. 2 minutes. Tell your body then, it's safe for me to make a choice. It is safe. I'm going to make a choice and I'm going to trust myself in making that choice, right? This rewires your fear of making a wrong choice, right? And saying the choice that I make is the right choice because I made it. Cool. Okay. For my approval seeking girlies and guys, I want you to practice what we call the silent win. Do something small today that makes you feel good and tell nobody. We're not posting it on social media. We're not talking about it. We're not putting it in the Christmas card. No, we're not. We're just sitting in the satisfaction for 1 full minute. Say to yourself, this is for me. I decide what matters. And all of these things, meeting your parts, having compassion towards them, acting in the way that they want you to act in order for them to take a rest, taking the 2-minute decision, engaging in the silent win. This is how we start reparenting the part of you that thought that love had to be earned. So I really hope you guys do this. So this perfectionistic part of you is not the enemy, my dear. It's the voice of that old protector. When you hear you're not ready, you'll embarrass yourself, you're falling behind, try whispering back, thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I'm safe now. Then again, do the things that we talked about. The moment that you realize this, everything fucking changes. Everything changes because now, instead of fighting this perfectionism, you can listen to it. You can thank it for protecting you and choose a new way for you to feel safe, an actual way of feeling safe. And every time you start before you're ready, you rest without guilt. You speak up even if your voice fucking cracks. You teach your body safety doesn't live in control. It lives in trusting me. Perfectionism doesn't make you worthy. Presence does. Connection does. So I hope you guys found this incredibly helpful. It's one of my absolutely favorite subjects. It is everything that I do. And honestly, I didn't even realize it until I did this whole training last year and then this new training recently, and I've just brought it all together for this episode. And I'm just like, wow, this is literally the root of everything that we do at the Mindset of Matter. So again, if you're interested, I would love to work with you. This is what I do. This is what we do. So also, if you have that one friend that absolutely needs to hear this, why don't you shoot her this episode? Sharing our podcast is one of the easiest ways to support me. Obviously, we don't have sponsors. This is completely free for us to do. And you sharing, subscribing, following, writing those 5-star rating and reviews, or just hitting 5 stars on Spotify is huge for us. It helps this podcast get out to more people. So please, I'd love for you to do that. Great conversation today. And I want to leave you reminding you of this very important thing, that what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Goodbye.